Hi everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to episode 129. This is Sumreen.
Yeah, this is Carlos.
And today we're going to go over how to set up your Raspberry Pi Headless. Carlos will give you more details. Passing it off.
All right, so to get started, what we're going to do is, so if some of you have seen our first episode on this live stream series, we showed you how to set up your Raspberry Pi with a Matrix device through the external display and getting an external mouse and keyboard and just plugging that in. And, it works, but for most users, I feel like it might be easier and more desirable to set it up from just your computer, unplug the micro SD card, put it into your Pi, and you're good to go. So this is a tutorial to set that up really quickly. So alright, so we're just going to move on to the screen right here to show you how. Okay, so I'll be doing this on a Mac, but these steps can also be transferable to Windows. So to start, what you're going to want to need is, I'll show you what we have right now. So we have a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus with a Matrix voice attached to it. And we have a micro SD card that is 32 gigabytes, if you can see that right there. A little bit tiny.
Yeah.
And a USB to micro SD card adapter, so we can actually plug that into our computer. So we're just going to put that in here, and then just insert it into your computer. So is there any room right here? I'll just remove this.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to insert this into the computer, and you'll see a drive pop up right here. Give it any. Oh, there we go. So we already flashed this with a Raspbian image. Raspbian Buster, the newest one, but I'll show you how to do it either way. So once you have your micro USB plugged into your computer, you're going to want to go to your web browser. So open. Is this open?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to open an incognito tab really quickly. There we go. Close that out. Alright, so to download Raspbian Buster, you can just look it up on Google. So Raspbian Buster download, and right away it should be the first thing on Google. So just scroll down and you can download any of these three versions. So our software should work with Buster. It recently came out and we've been doing our best to keep up to date with all our software. We will say that from what we've seen on testing, we do not support the Raspberry Pi 4 yet on the Creator, but we are working on that. The voice seems to be fine so far.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just download any one of these, and you're also going to want a software called Etcher. So what Etcher does is once we download the image we want for our Raspberry Pi, Etcher allows us to flash that image to our micro SD card, and this is a painless experience and honestly one of the best around. So download that for whatever system you're on. It should auto detect.
Mm-hmm.
So once you have those two, you can close out your web browser, and I have them right here. So this is the Raspbian Stretch image I downloaded beforehand. And over here is the Balena Etcher program I have. So I'm going to open Balena Etcher just to show you what it looks like. Give it it's a little slow on this computer, so just give it 2 seconds. There we go. It's gonna just ignore that warning. Alright, so by default it should already detect that you have the micro SD card plugged in, and right here where it says select an image, you can either just drag the image you already have or just manually select it on wherever you have it stored.
Explorer, yeah, exactly, yeah.
So you click flash, put in your password, and in like 5 minutes, you'll be good to go. So we already have that done. This is just to show you what it'd look like. So I'm going to put these away. We don't actually need these anymore, so I'm just going to leave that there. So now, once you flash the micro SD card, Balena will auto-eject it, so you're going to want to unplug it and plug it back in, so it'll show up back on your desktop. So all you have to do to set up your Raspberry Pi is super easy. Just have two files. One called wpasupplicant.conf and SSH. And don't worry, we'll walk you through how to set those up.
Right.
So just to make sure we're creating the right files on Mac, for Mac users, you're going to want to go to Finder Preferences. So just click on your desktop and you should find the option right here, Preferences. And you're going to want to make sure this option that says Show All File Name Extensions is turned on. And what that does is that if we have like a PNG file, a TXT file, JPEG, we'll see it on the file. So right here, you can see this other image I have. When I toggle this check mark, it hides and shows the extension. So we're going to want to show the extension. So for Windows users, you're going to want to open File Explorer, and then, let me just make that bigger. You're going to want to click on View, and then over here on the right side, you'll see a little check mark that says Show File Name Extensions. Enable that, and you should be good to go. So I'm going to continue. All right. So we have the two images. We have two files already pre-made here, but if you make it yourself, just do like a on Windows. You have a right-click option to make a TXT file, or on Mac you can open up a text editor.
Yeah, so on Windows you could do it with Notepad. Yeah.
Yeah, so
or
you can
any
just
other.
you can just save it. So an example, just save like an empty file, call it, just to show you what it does when you show the file name extension. So I'll save that to the desktop. So if you want to, so you have to make two files, one called SSH and one called WPA.supplicant. So however you make the files, just keep in mind that SSH is a blank file and it has no extensions. So when you make it, like say the file we're making down here, make sure you get rid of the extension and call it SSH. We're just calling it something random right now. Let me move that to trash. So once you have the SSH file, just drag it into the boot drive. Just drag that in there. And now for WPA supplicant, you're just gonna open it, and we'll have the link to this, so it's already pre-made, so you can just fill in the information. You're just gonna put in your Wi-Fi credentials here, so my home Wi-Fi, whatever yours is, and then my Wi-Fi password. So you just put in your information and save that, and then you're just gonna drag that into the boot drive, or the boot. I don't know what you call it. The boot folder.
The boot partition, boot folder, drive, whatever.
Yeah. So we already have one with our Wi-Fi information. So just to not show that on the stream, I'm gonna drag that in there. Okay. So I close that. So once you drag those two files in there, you can just eject it, and yeah, just you can unplug the micro SD card, and now all you gotta do is plug it into your Pi. Give it power right here, and then you just give it I'd say around 30 seconds for it to boot up for the first time and connect to the Wi-Fi, and then you'll be able to SSH. So once you have all the Wi-Fi credentials set up and SSH already enabled, oh yeah, just to explain what the files do. SSH, the blank file, when you drag it into the boot drive, it'll tell the Raspberry Pi will automatically start with SSH enabled, which lets you log into the Raspberry Pi and send terminal commands over Wi-Fi.
Right.
WPA supplicant is, as you can tell, setting up the actual network credentials. So those are really the only two things we need. So now, if you want to find the IP address of your Raspberry Pi, we're gonna link you to two apps, one on iOS and one on Android, that lets you scan your network. So for this one, we're gonna be using one called iNet on iOS. So here you just scan the network, if you can see that. It scans the network, and then just give it a few seconds, and then just look for a tab that says Raspberry Pi. So I'm gonna find one really quickly. Should be, I think the IP was
36. Well, we already know this because we already tested. But basically, when our office has lots of Raspberry Pis, so it's a little bit tough. Hopefully, you only have a couple around, so you know which Raspberry Pi it is.
So yeah, once you find the Raspberry Pi, you should see a tab that says.
So keep there for a second.
Raspberry Pi. So
and then the IP address.
Yeah. So once you click that tab, you can see the IP address as well as the MAC address, but all we want is the IP address.
And the Android app is similar. It's called Fing. We'll link both of those in the description.
Yeah. So really quickly, you're just going to open up a terminal. This works on both. On Windows, just open up PowerShell. On Mac, just open up your terminal and type in SSH Pi at 192. Well, whatever the IP address you have. It varies between different people. .1.
Different devices.
Yeah.
Different people.
So once you have the IP address with this command, you press enter. You're going to type in yes if it's the first time. Well, every time it's the first time, it'll ask you to make sure that this is the one you want to connect to. And the password is going to be Raspberry. And we'll have all of the instructions on the video once it's released. So Raspberry, and as you can see, we're inside the Raspberry Pi, and you're good to go and do whatever you want. So that's pretty much it. You should be good to go if you already have a nice workflow with the Raspberry Pi. But as a bonus, similar to what we did in the first video, we'll also show you how to set up CyberDuck, which allows you to easily edit and transfer files from your computer to the Raspberry Pi. So again, you can go to your web browser, look up CyberDuck, and it should be the first link. The logo is pretty iconic here. So once you have that downloaded, it works on Mac and Windows. Just going to open it up. Give it a second. It's a little slow right now with streaming going on.
What did you open? CyberDuck?
Yeah, should take a, there we go.
Okay, yeah, I was
So
wondering.
once you have CyberDuck open, skip this version, you're going to want to click on open a new connection, and you're going to click on the top here where it says FTP. You're going to change that to SFTP, and then just type in the IP address of your Raspberry Pi, so 192.168.1.36.
Yeah.
The username is Pi, and the password is Raspberry.
So the reason you do SFTP is because it's like SSH file transfer protocol, and you enabled SSH on your Pi, so it allows it to happen.
Yeah, so once you have that there, just connect it, and give it a second. All right, so right there, we're on our Raspberry Pi. So if I make a file here through terminal, so hello.txt, and I refresh it on CyberDuck right here, I'll see the file there, and yeah, I can edit the file with command. Actually, I can just right-click it and edit with whatever text editor I want.
Right.
So I can put whatever text I want here, save it, and if I look at it through terminal, oh, wait. Well, you can see the world right there, but here, I'll just open it with Nano. So as you can see, we are interacting with the Raspberry Pi in a much nicer way. You could also drag and drop files and a lot of other neat things. So yeah.
Because you don't want to be editing everything through Nano when you're SSH'd in. You would want to use like some nice file edit, like text editor, like VS Code or something else. We like VS Code a lot.
Yeah.
So
that pretty much concludes the guide. You should be good to go. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or just reach out to us on our website or our community. And once you're in here in the Raspberry Pi, to just install the Matrix software, you can just go to your web browser, type in docs.matrix.1, and then just click on. You can start at Matrix Lite, Matrix HAL, wherever you want to go, and you should be good to go, up and running in like 10-15 minutes.
And what's really nice about this is you can directly copy paste from here into your terminal. From here, say there's code edits, you could copy paste from the docs into your file editor, and it's much nicer because you have your PC to Raspberry Pi interaction much smoother. Yeah.
So you'll be pretty much set up and good to go. So that pretty much concludes this live stream.
Okay, I'll switch it back to the front camera and we can close out. So that was quick. Thank you, Carlos, for that really nice, package of putting everything together.
Yeah, so this is what we use internally to speed things up because we constantly flash micro SD cards over and over again. So to speed things up, this is a process we use. So we just wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, so thank you for watching. We'll do a quick announcements. It's Friday, so I'm sure everybody's excited for the weekend. But we have finalized a date for the Snips contest. Pretty sure, like 99% sure it's going. We're all ready. July 25th. Keep your ears and eyes open for Hackster newsletter, our newsletter, on the community. Just, keep your eyes open.
That should be the day.
Exactly. Very excited.
And as well as another announcement, we have NFC very close to being ready, or at least like polished for C++. And very soon we'll be working on porting that over to JavaScript and Python. But you can go check out our GitHub and you'll see Matrix HAL NFC and give it a try. It's very, it's still early and we're almost done implementing a very nice abstraction by one of our very talented engineers.
Yeah. So that's also great because that's a feature that, is really cool. You can use NFC text to read, write, and I hope it opens up a whole different type
we
of
had
project.
we had an unstable preview, and now we're trying to clean that up and make it way more accessible to our users. So that'll be coming in pretty soon.
Yeah, and then the last announcement we had for you was we'll be at the Voice Summit week after next. We'll probably send out in our newsletter or something like, hey, come visit us, or something like that if you're around. But yeah, so that's about it. Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
And
So that's pretty much it. Thanks for viewing. Bye.
bye. Okay.